Hello, and thank you for joining me for a demonstration of Workday reporting for financial management. Today, we are going to cover these topics: a quick recap on work tags, hierarchies, and how they drive reporting, the 5 core report types on which all other financial reports are based, selecting report options to get the results you're looking for, and saving your reports once you get them the way you want. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify a few reports where you can start to become comfortable with Workday reporting. Submit and save report parameters. Drill down to find the details you're looking for. Use the pivot functionality to revise your results. Let's get started. Work tags and hierarchies: how the Finance Foundation data model affects reporting. In the Finance Foundation Data Model course, you learned about 2 key Workday elements that make it possible for us to select the information we want to see in the reports. Those are work tags and hierarchies. Hierarchies are the structure that allows us to roll values together. And because of the hierarchies in Workday, it is possible for the same report to provide both a high level and a detailed view of the financial data. Hierarchies may also be selected in different combinations to drive different reporting results. For example, the combination of spend categories with cost centers. Add security role differences, and now the same report may look different for 2 people in the same unit based on the information they may or may not have access to. You also heard that while work tags are the structure by which Workday organizes financial data, a few are more influential than others in reporting. A basic way of thinking of this is like a filter for our data. Work tags allow us to include and exclude data depending on the report options available. 3 of the required work tags, company, balancing unit, and fund, are what make a balance sheet possible. The 4th is ledger account, which we'll address in a moment. By adding gift, grant, or project work tag to company, balancing unit, and fund, now you get a balance sheet specific to the assets and liabilities of that project. Many of the reports in Workday are based on this principle. A standard report is presented with an additional option that filters the results in a new way. Now, back to ledger account, the 4th required work tag. You may recall that for income and expense transactions, the revenue or spend category drives the ledger account. This combination of the 4 required work tags is what allows us to run earnings reports. With that in mind, let's look at the 5 core financial report types. The 5 core reports. Find what you need by starting at the top. Generally speaking, reporting in Workday Financials is derived from one of 5 core reports. By starting at a high level in one of these core reports and drilling deeper into the details or filtering further, you can find most financial information. Those 5 categories are sources and uses, find journal lines, managerial reports, payroll, and balance sheet. As you will see, each of these report types requires you to select the options or parameters that will determine the contents of the report. Required parameters are marked with a red asterisk. Some of these parameter names are obvious. Here are a few you may see. Note how in the illustration, there's an asterisk next to the field for company, organization, and period. However, the use of these terms can differ from one report to another, so it is important to understand the context where each term is used. To learn more about the parameters for a given report and to find the most common reports for the business process you're working on, search for the term reporting summary on the Administrative Resource Center. Now, back to our report types. A great place to start is the sources and uses reports. These are the cash flow statements, useful for so many common scenarios. Some varieties of this include sources and uses by fund group and by project. The same basic layout is used in the equity balances by cost center and fund group report. There are many options provided when you search for a sources and uses report. I could select the variance analysis version from the drop-down menu. Instead, I'm going to hit enter so we can see all of the search results. We recommend that you cast the widest net that's practical. Unlike running a 90 or a 91 report, when once you've run it, you're stuck with however you configured it, you can sift the sources and uses, filtering and sorting until you isolate what you need. I want to run this one at a cost center hierarchy 6 in arts and sciences. Rather than trying to scroll through this list, I'm going to just type what I know, CCH6 arts, and select the option that Workday provides. For this example, I'm going to choose the last period of the prior fiscal year. And leave all the rest of the parameters on the default settings to give me the most data to work with. Let's run this. Because this is a training environment, we have no plan data or full year data to work with, but I do have line item details that I can filter and sort. Let's do that by expanding these lines with the arrows at the beginning of them. Let's say that I'd like to learn more about the total general funds allocation. Clicking the small arrow next to this actual figure allows me to do a lot of things. But while I could look at all the details, I would like to look at this by assignee. So let's choose that. When the new window opens, I have a list of all the assignees called out in the general fund. When I scroll to the bottom, and it's a long list, I can see that there is a large amount that is not allocated by individual. So I decide I'd like to see how that's divided out by cost center. Again, I can click in the small arrow and choose cost center. And when I get there, maybe I know that there are special programs that are using some of those funds. So I can break it down into those by selecting activities and events. So I have the data broken down into columns to give me a full picture of those allocations too. The more you play, the more possible views of the data you'll discover. Our next core report format is Find Journal Lines. This is a transactional line item report, a basic search that can take a variety of forms depending on the filter you use. For example, you might want to find a list of payments made to a specific vendor, spend authorizations, or exceptions to a travel policy for your team. You can find the basic version of this report by typing Find Journal Lines in the search bar and selecting from the quick results, or press the Enter key. Only two versions appear here: Find Journal Lines OSU and Find Journal Lines OSU Payroll Detail. The other versions appear in various dashboards across Workday. As you see, there are a lot of options for this report. The only parameters that are required are company, year, and period. Running it wide open like that would amount to a very large report, though. Here's where a work tag filter is really convenient. I've built a basic set of parameters here. The company is The Ohio State University in the last fiscal year and with an annual summary period. I'm going to put in a couple of work tags. One for the cost center hierarchy that I just used in the previous demonstration, and another for the program setup funds. Startup is the term I'm looking for. By typing just a few words, Workday will present me with all the work tags that contain those words. I just have to find the program funds I'm looking for. There it is. And click OK. To make this screen a little easier to use, expand to the full screen viewing mode using the double arrow in the top right corner of the table, so that you can scroll all the way to the right to see the data. Once you have this list, there are functions you can perform similar to Excel without ever losing the advantage of live data in Workday. Click to sort or filter on the column heading, for example. Let's filter for the School of Music. By sorting and filtering, refining what I'm looking for, I can use this same report to get a wide range of results. Our third core reporting type is balance sheet, the statement of financial position at a point in time. Any balancing unit can generate a balance sheet, but it must make sense. The person in your unit who helped set up the FDM structure will know which apply to your unit. Workday has a variety of balance sheet reports customized to the specific company or purpose. University balancing unit, health system, and managerial balance sheets are a few of the most straightforward, but there are many others. For health system users, you may prefer to start with the Health System Financial Reporting Dashboard, or FRED. Another Buck I Learned video like this one demonstrates how to use it. In this University Balancing Unit balance sheet, we're going to look at the cost center hierarchy for the Wexner Center of the Arts. It's organized in the expected way, with assets, liabilities, and equity along the left, and current year to date compared with prior year, variance, and percent variance from left to right. As you've seen in other reports, we can drill into the details. And while the balance sheet displays equity along with assets and liabilities, in order to learn the amount of cash carried forward in a period, you would have to look at your sources and uses report, because cash carried forward is a source of cash and is not shown on the balance sheet. The fourth category we'll call managerial reports. In an earnings unit, this is what you would know as an income statement or profit and loss statement. These reports have many names in Workday, but in general, this type of report answers questions about how to manage an operation with a plan or a budget. And this can apply to a gift, grant, or project. One example of this is described in the e-learning on managing gifts in Workday. You can see a more in-depth explanation in that course, but let's take a quick look now. The managerial gift report allows us to make decisions about how gifts are spent based on what's available to spend now versus in the future, and what has already been spent. In this example, we're going to look at gifts to the College of Medicine. Well, we can look at this by category or gift by gift. I can also view all gifts by assignee instead. By clicking on the small arrow next to ending spendable equity and selecting assignee, I can learn who I might want to have a conversation with about upcoming expenses and available funds. Our final category, the payroll reports, harnesses one of the key benefits of Workday at Ohio State. Because we have live compensation and HR data available to us alongside our financials, the payroll reports are both real-time and comprehensive. Financial reporting in Workday already accommodates payroll accounting. The drill down features in sources and uses can aid with payroll expense data analysis. So this category is more of a collection of helpful tools for answering payroll questions. HR for Finance reports provide information on HR business processes to help finance keep an eye on activity. Costing reporting shows where costing overrides may be needed or have been keyed. And expense or encumbrance reporting provides payroll detail for general ledger reporting of payroll expense encumbrance lines. One example is the payroll funding errors by accounting period, which is used to identify bad funding rule combinations so that funding can be corrected prior to the expense posting. To view most of these reports, you must have the payroll costing analyst security role. Many cost center fiscal personnel have this role because in Workday, unit accountants make payroll accounting adjustments instead of HR personnel. Here's another example. The payroll accounting adjustment status. This report returns a list of transactions and where they are in the business process to confirm things are moving along as expected. Imagine, for example, that you're preparing to do some mid-month financial reporting, and before you do, you want to see if any payroll accounting adjustments will cause an issue. By selecting just a couple of options here, my cost center in the College of Nursing, and the transaction status of in progress, and this report produces a list of adjustments that have not yet been approved and tells me who is next in the process. Now I can follow up with this individual and do so at any time during the month so that approvals don't fall to the last minute and prevent me from closing the period at the end of the month. Managing filters. Save, schedule, and manage your favorites. As you've seen in the examples so far, some Workday reports have a long list of possible options, and fine-tuning them can take some work. So how can you make sure you remember what you ran before, or return to a version of a report that you liked? Here are the parameters for the sources and uses variance analysis report we used earlier in this demonstration. On this report, as it is on most reports, there is a selection at the bottom of the form for a filter name. We'll click on this field and name a filter to describe the purpose or the question I was trying to answer when I ran it, so that I'll be able to recognize it from a list in the future. Let's call this by the hierarchy and the type of report. Once the name is saved, there are a few things I can do. If I click on Manage Filters, a list of saved filters by report and name of the filter is described. In this screen, you can edit the report to change the name or to alter the parameters. Say I want to run this on a monthly basis for the last closed period instead. I can also delete reports that I no longer have a use for. Now, if I click the Actions button next to the name of the filter, I can run it from here. I can also do something really convenient, which is schedule it for the future. It names the process, meaning this filter. I need to tell it that this is a report and that I'd like to run it weekly, starting December 1st through February 28th. Once this is saved, the reports will deliver to my reports under my profile in the future. The next time I return to sources and uses, the saved filters list will include the one I just saved. And I can change whatever characteristics I'd like for a new set of parameters. and run the report. In this video, you've seen how to run a simple version of each of the 5 core report types. We've used the common parameter sets to create very broad and very specific reports. We've drilled into specifics and used filtering, sorting, and pivot tables to explore our data and sift through to find what we want. We've also learned how to save the report filters that work best and reuse them in the future. To learn more about reporting capabilities in Workday, consider visiting the Administrative Resource Center and search for reporting summaries. Or continue your learning with the video on Health System Financial Reporting Dashboard, FRED, Managing Gifts in Workday, or Grant Management Reporting and Analysis. This concludes the demonstration. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and thank you.